Training day 3 for the big Pacific Northwest tour with my daughter Addie, and what a day it's been. I will tell you all about it right after this. So we started this interview yesterday, post-accident going in, and we did a lot of interview and realized by the time I got back that it didn't record. So we're going to pick that up here back at the barn. And talk a little bit more in depth about Addie's motorcycle background. And I'm not sure what we lost, in fact, in that. So why don't we pick it up with, your first bike and what you decided to do.
Definitely. So the first bike, which I still have, is the Honda Rebel 500. I've just been putting around on that in California. And it's just a little cruiser, drastically different, obviously. So it's been a new experience.
That was a great bike to begin with.
Super great, yeah.
500 cc's, plenty of power to get you around.
Very fun.
You've had up and down the Pacific Coast Highway there, Monterey, Big Sur, that area.
Yeah,
there.
Pretty spoiled.
In fact, that was your first date, in a way, with your husband. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so he was on, I can't remember what year, it was an old bike, but it was a SV650, and he showed up, we were wearing the same gear. Exactly. And we rode down the PCH for a few hours past Big Sur, stopped up at a really beautiful monastery, and
and the rest is
kind of
history.
crazy.
Yeah, as I say.
First date. Yeah.
I had an opportunity when I went out to visit these guys to go ride with them a bit, and it was nice to add another rider to our little group. So you took the motorcycle safety training course.
I did, yeah.
In fact, you had to.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
You didn't have to initially?
I think I did have to initially. I remember having to.
All
yeah.
Right. I
And
mean,
then the
you
Army
had to
makes it
because
mandatory.
I required you to do it.
Yes, of course.
And then the Army came along and said, you got to do it anyway.
Yeah, that third parent.
Right, yeah, no kidding. What did you get from that? Did that help you out?
Yeah, it helped me out a lot. Just really honing in on very, very basic techniques, emergency stops, really, really tight turns, getting comfortable with figuring out where the clutch engages, things like that. So, yeah, I feel like everyone should definitely take that course.
Absolutely, yeah. And not only the course, but also what the course recommends as far as all the gear all the time, which is something you experienced yesterday. So before we get into that, though, so for the last 4 days, you've been riding the Tiger. Yeah. Your first time on the Tiger, and we've gone through and kind of we've got a lower seat for it, and dialed in the controls a little bit better for you here. What was it like for you getting on it the first time?
Terrifying. I was pretty scared because it's not a little cruiser. And it's just it's a heavier, taller, bigger bike, and it's loud and it feels just totally different. And but as soon as I started riding it, I just felt a lot more comfortable. I realized that I could go through corners a lot tighter, I guess, not having to swing out as far like on a cruiser. And this is just so light. You just you just shift your hips, and it just goes wherever you wanted to go. It did. It was still scary around town, but I feel like I got over it really quick.
Well, you look really natural on it. So let's see, was it that day, that afternoon, we went out to the shores of the Great Salt Lake, and we did a photo op out there, and we got some YouTube footage that will roll over this of you motoring along. And then the next day, day 2 of the training, we went up to the we did some freeway riding. How'd it feel that way?
It felt a lot better than on the Rebel. It felt a lot safer. Felt like it could get out of harm's way. It was significantly smoother. You just felt like you could ride it for hours, the seating position, and not being rocked so hard by the wind and passing semis. It was a lot more comfortable.
Then we went up and did another photo op up at the Bonneville Shoreline Trail that way. Then on day 3, I decided to take you out to Ophir, rhymes with gopher, a little mining town where they had a big sign that said, "Go away, don't come in, we're virus free." So we didn't stay long and left there, and then we went to try out the Pony Express Trail to get some dirt time going on, a little bit more dirt time going on. And we thought perhaps that would be a pretty easy road because there's no hills or turns or anything there the novice dirt rider, but what we did come across were some graders. What was that? First off, getting on the road, what was that like for you to be in the dirt?
I mean, it was kind of nerve-wracking at first. I wasn't used to the Tiger trying to find its way, and like you said, when there's that kind of shifty thing going on with the handlebars, it's just the tire trying to find its grip. So I just tried to let it do its thing, and it felt better.
Then we came to kind of a turning point. I was going to call it a fateful moment, but I don't think it was fateful because we all learned a lot from what happened yesterday.
Sure.
What went on? What can you remember? Do you mind talking about it?
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay? All right.
So, so the grader's coming down the road in his big tractor,
Coming
right?
towards us. We were heading west. The grader's coming east.
Mm-hmm. And it looked like we had enough of a right shoulder to go past him. And you told me just to follow right in your tracks.
I found a line, go on past him, and honestly, really what I should have done, I should have stopped and let the grader go by, because what looked like enough room off to the side of the road wasn't, because there was a pile a foot deep of real loose sand and gravel going on there. And I didn't realize that until I was at the grader and passing him by, and then you were following my line going through there.
Right, so as I was following your line going through there, he starts honking and throwing his arms up and just kind of making a fuss. So I looked up at him, and as I looked up, I think I just kind of lost my trail, and I hit that sand gravel berm, and the next thing I knew, I was in the dirt.
Yeah, so we had our Senna hooked up. We were able to hear each other, and I could hear her exasperations as just as it immediately started to go. And I looked in my rearview mirrors and saw her go down, which is the most horrible feeling I think I could possibly ever feel. And she went down hard. She went down right, off to the kind of the right side. The bike went down on its right side, but I think the tiller was this way when it went down to take all this impact. And then it barrel rolled over because there's more abrasion on top of the motorcycle than there is anywhere else, and then it hit on the other side as well, so all the way around it. What did you suffer out of that?
You know, all symptoms of a decent concussion and some road rash and just some sore muscles today, some whiplash, feeling that, but nothing more serious than that. I was pretty lucky.
You had some road rash on your arm there. What's fascinating about this is, we talk about road rash and think it's an actual abrasion of skin to pavement. And if that were the case, it wouldn't be road rash, it would be road gash, I think.
Yeah.
The road rash on you, it's a burn.
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
friction
the
burn
skin was never in contact.
You had a Gore-Tex jacket on.
Right.
That took all the heat and all the abrasion of that, transferred the heat to your arm that would go through and burn you a bit, but in the same way on your hip wouldn't happen there. Your helmet, the right side of your helmet, and you can see where it slid along the right side there, where you hit your head. It was the day before that we went to Cycle Gear and got her the helmet, or no, 2 days before, I guess, on that.
Yeah.
The next day we went back and got her some riding jeans that are made of a special material that takes care of those abrasions that way, as well as being padded.
And they do.
Yeah, thank goodness you had those on, because we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, here at least. They saved your skin literally on that.
Literally.
So all the gear all the time, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you made me promise that to you when you were about 10 years old, I think, that I would always gear up on everything. And I realized that my own gloves were very inadequate after looking at what your gloves went through. And you were saved head to toe.
Just completely, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So how does that make you feel looking at a 3,500 mile, 4,000 mile ride coming up in June?
In a way, I kind of feel more ready for it. The little spill definitely didn't scare me, and I really just wanted to get back on, but I knew that mentally I was kind of in a fog, so.
But you did get back on.
I did.
You were right at the bike. You got
Yeah.
back on. I rode it to make sure it was okay to ride, and you got on it and rode it all the way back to where the trail started at the pavement there in Cedar Valley, Utah.
Right.
And that's where we stopped and shot the first part of the show and this interview that way. And then we decided maybe, and I think it's a good thing, because no turn signal,
Yeah.
Just really didn't have it completely checked out as far as riding it back. And then there was this huge windstorm. We came out to pick it up later on. So,
Crazy.
so let me get back to my original question then. You feel like you're more prepared in a way, having gone through the accident,
Yeah.
and so the wisdom from that helps you how? What does that do for you?
Well, now I really trust my gear, for one. Put that to the test. And obviously we can trust the equipment that's on the bike to protect the bike, because that held up amazingly. Don't pass graders.
Don't pass graders, and that was my fault. Really, I wish I should have stopped on the side of the road and let them go by. Well, I'm glad you got back on the horse again, as they say. You've had a little bit of experience with that. Tell us about that.
Well, so when I first started riding at 7 or 8,
Horse riding.
Horseback riding. Yeah. It was much scarier to face my instructor than it was to just get back on the horse. So I think that kind of started that, habit of just getting back on, dust off and get back on. And then kind of the same thing plays out in the Army. You just got to get right back to it. It doesn't matter,
And you did it. You rocked it, got back on. Every photo I took of the bike with you in the photograph, you were smiling. There.
Yeah. It might have been half concussion.
Get a little bit of delirium there. Yeah, as it goes.
I
Well,
think so.
I can't wait to do the trip with you as we get going. You're leaving in the morning, and we'll be back after the first week of June as we get to continue to finish gearing up. This will be all repaired and ready to go by then as well. All the parts are ordered, along with new skins, new tires for both bikes. You're pretty good at this.
I'm trying.
I'm
trying.
Yeah, this is what you have to look forward to on the channel, UTADV, as we get into the trip. We'll kind of do a debrief, probably not every day, but certainly there'll be a lot of interaction going on as we cover the miles, and hopefully, this is going to be under an entirely different context because of COVID-19, and not just the pandemic, but the paranoia that goes along with that. We'll have to do our research to see where we can go.
Yeah.
But we got a few episodes between now and then. Hope you stay with us. And Addie, thank you for doing this interview.
Yeah, of course.
That means a lot to me. And thank you for watching. If you like it, subscribe, like it, and we'll see you next episode. Okay.